Hi everyone, Patricia Warby, Alchemy Therapies here, and just a quick summary of 2021. Well, 2021 was the year in which we saw the full polarization and the impact of fear on a population, which I did predict early in the year. But sadly, it came to pass, and we saw the polarization, the distinction between us and them, between government and people, what's fit for them and what's fit for us, between different groups of people, those who choose to go with the narrative and those who choose not to follow the narrative that we're given. From the unity of the year before, where we were all clapping for carers and we were all in it together, supposedly, we're now seeing the reality is that we're not indeed, and that people are being pitted against each other, which is a real, well, it's just such a sad situation. At the beginning of the year, I wanted to reach out to those people that, like me, were finding the anxiety and the stress of this situation really severe. Obviously, I can only reach a certain number of people per week. If I'm doing one-to-one work, I can do a maximum of 12 people, 12 sessions a week. So I had an idea to reach out via an online program, by a group program, where we could take on groups of people who would not only support each other, but they would learn from me and each other. And that has now completed. The initial first ever emotional audit program finished in December 2021, and it's going to be relaunched in February 2022. And I've just been going through the feedback. So I wanted to review some of the feedback with you, just to show you that this course did have a profound impact. And though it wasn't perfect, and I was very grateful that people kind of were aware of that. That was the initial thing that I was doing, was going through, knowing that it wasn't going to be perfect. And that was the founder membership. But here are some of the responses that I've had from people. So someone said it was really supportive and enlightening and far more than they had hoped for. Someone else said they particularly enjoyed my down-to-earth approach to training, my active listening skills, which were second to none and coming from a place of authenticity at all times, and the amount of work that I put into handouts. And thank you for being you, someone said. Oh, so thank you. I have enjoyed the course immensely. I thought I had a broad knowledge base when I started, but this added to it, and my wonderful presentations brought everything into sharp focus and added the clarity needed to draw new insights into my past and present. Someone else said I had amazing and relaxed delivery style, and thank you for that. And someone else said it's been very supportive and empowering. And someone else said also, thank you, and it's truly changed the way I see trauma, myself and others. So you can see that we've had a good response, and I'm hoping when I relaunch that I take with me all the positive things I learned from this experience, but also I add to it and start to improve it and make it even bigger and better. And I'm actually relaunching my website in a week or two, so that's going to be possible then to book the course specifically using the new website. And so I'm looking forward to having a new face, a front face for my approach here. I truly think this is a radical new way to treat trauma. I think the one thing that trauma thrives on really is isolation. And as we've seen this year with what's been going on in the external world, isolation is such a big, big part of feeling overwhelmed, which is what creates trauma. So I really would like to encourage people to join together with me and celebrate what we can do to help each other and support each other, and that we're not really alone, although we can feel that way. We need to learn to band together with others who kind of help us to feel connected, to feel human. Human beings need connection, and without connection, we tend to flounder. So this is really all about building community of, we don't have to all agree with each other. We all have to be perhaps compassionate to each other in our differences and be aware of our differences, but also active listening, which is one of the skills I bring, is so important, to hear what other people have to say and to see the commonalities. All of our fears really are about survival. They're about being able to raise our children in safety and security, about having safety and security in our old age, about not suffering pain or disconnection. You know, that's what most people want. They want that kind of feeling of being okay. And that's what's being denied to us in many, many ways through the approach that we're seeing. And it's been a scary time, but there have been so many good things that have come out of this. The willingness, I think, for people to engage in new ways. And I've been encouraging that throughout the year. I've been actually talking about some of my journeys into new areas which I haven't focused on before. For instance, the cryptocurrency, learning about finance, taking control of my finances, perhaps breaking some of the old patterns that I've had about the fear of money and the fear of death, and really fear of being overwhelmed, and kind of drawing together with people who perhaps have faced those similar fears and learning from them. And although I'm not by any means at the end of that journey, I'm certainly still at the beginning of it. I do feel that we have a responsibility to each other and to ourselves to take charge of our world, the world that we wish for, rather than the world we have right now. And part of the world we have right now is one where the rich and the poor are vastly different, and we have very little equality in the world. And so we have the inevitable problems that brings of people with money and power, because money unfortunately confers power. They tend to work in tandem, actually dominating the dialogue and dictating policy. We call that capture, policy capture. So where you have money and influence, you're able to infiltrate the systems that are meant to oversee policy, for instance, in regulation of monetary systems, in regulation of health systems and education systems. We're seeing increasingly that these are bought out by industry, by corporate bodies who have vast amounts of power. And so I want to undermine that. I want to disrupt it. I want to create something that's a little more equitable, that actually works for the majority of people rather than the minority, and helps to distribute power and influence to those who actually know more about it, at the forefront of these systems, who are actually using these systems. And so I've had this long journey through understanding quite how desperately corrupt our systems are. Starting with the banking system, which I never knew, I never understood. I was aware of the crash in 2009, but I didn't really understand why it had come about. And I know so much more now about the banking system, and I've learned that. And then looking at the health system, that's also been bought out by certain bodies, pharmaceutical companies, scientific advisory bodies, who have a lot of profit to gain from keeping things pretty much on the path that we're on, which is the sort of chemical solution, if you like, to everything, the pill for every ill, and not looking at the biopsychosocial aspects of what keeps people healthy. And in other words, having a health system rather than a sickness system. So we have a corrupt system, both in finance, we have a corrupt system in health, and I think increasingly we have a corrupt system in government as well, as we have a scientifically illiterate governmental system. Both our policy makers, but also the people that advise them, are, I believe, not telling the truth, are having a version of science which is as if it's a one thing, that there is the science, rather than a dialogue or a theory that we then seek to disprove, which is the true scientific method. And we're not being able to have that dialogue. We're not able to discuss what's going on. We're not even allowed to venture that it might not be the right direction. We're being absolutely shut down from discourse, which is the most anti-scientific thing I've ever heard. So I I appealed to people to keep an open mind and to learn as much as you can about what's going on, to take what I have learned from my approaches to trauma, which, by the way, we're in a time of trauma, so trauma is everywhere, and to understand that you can't just ignore it. It doesn't go away. We actually have to engage community connection, support in order to resolve where we are. And that's really why I do what I do. And it's been so brought into relief this year. So I wish you all a wonderful and happy 2022. Let's hope for better things this year, more cohesion and a little bit more compassion for each other. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.